when it comes to customer service, how are you looking at that in this new, if you can call it a post-pandemic era? What kind of emphasis have you been putting on, a service-centric experience rather than it being cliche? How has that changed since the pandemic hit and now here we stand?
Yeah. I think companies have become much more professional. I think I think the fear of death during this had everybody thinking not how do I just sell my next membership? It was what do I do? How do I keep my customers? And I think there was a lot of reflection on how people treated customers. And so I think we're seeing sort of a leveling up in this industry of companies that take customer experience more seriously. I've said for a long time, Lyle, that a lot of it's BS. It's customer experience hand waving, right? It's our customer service, our people, our greatest asset is just marketing blather, and it's not true for most companies. Well, we're seeing a real shift there.
Yeah.
People have taken a more, it's almost like a bit more somber approach and said, okay, we've got to, this has been scary, it's been humbling, it's been, all of these things. When your customers are fearful to come in, you do everything you can, to try to win them back, to try to get them back and try to keep them. So I think, in some ways, that's been a benefit to our industry.
With your experience and really now taking a focus on a customer centric experience, let's just say a newer operator or managers watching this, are there, in your mind, what are the top maybe one or two things that are actionable that they can do to say, okay, we really need to take this next step. Memberships aren't where they're at. Let's do step two to really connect with the community, and really change the trajectory of where business is at. What are some of those action steps that you would suggest?
I think you have to be um, realistic about what your experience really is. And of course, I'm going to say you got to measure it so that you think what your member experience is. The first step is to measure it. And I'm saying this without really trying to plug MXM on this either. That's all we do, and we make it easy for you to do it because I don't want it to sound like, well, I've got this huge project out there. I got to go measure the member experience. There's others out there that really know how to do this and are
And this interview
professional.
is not sponsored by MXM, just for the record.
No,
It's sponsored by our friendship. There you go.
thank you, Lyle. But
100%.
we could certainly help with that. What that does then is it tells you where to focus. It just simply tells you where to focus. And then once you know where to focus, like um, if it was your people and your people are really sort of come off as disengaged, indifferent, and unfriendly, and you think they're friendly, I was at a Gold convention some years ago, and we had over 400 Gold locations, using the software, and I was the one that had to teach everybody how to use it and understand all the scores and try to help people. And I had franchisees representing about 200 and something locations in a seminar. And I said, how many of you believe that your front desk delivers excellent service? Who's not going to raise their hand, right?
Yeah.
Every single one of them raised their hand. I said, what if I told you 10 locations in this room do? And that was it.
Wow.
And how do you know? Well, because there's a standard. On a 0 to 10 scale, if you're not averaging 9.0 or higher, you're lagging.
Yeah.
Just to understand and to know where you are, so that you know where to focus.
And
And then from there, we have very tactical and practical ways to address things.
and it seems like from what you just said, that next action step is it's really you have to reinvest in training the staff to connect, training the staff to go beyond just looking at the sales process. Creating a community doesn't end with signing the member up. It really begins before they even become a member. It begins with connecting with the membership, but also or with your prospects, but also having the strategies and just the training to be able to create an experience. And now, again, I know this is not MXM sponsored, but I'm very curious. Once you get those scores, do you recommend certain type of training, or is there a protocol that you suggest that they follow to really bring those scores up?
Yep. And we do recommend all kinds of training. And your point about training staff, change doesn't happen by memo. And, hey, everybody, we have to be friendlier. No, they're very practical mini case study sort of ways to have your staff together and take them through different exercises so that they understand friendliness, for you to actually have a mini vision around what friendliness should feel like. You want this sort of front porch community inside your clubs. What does that look like? What does that, and engage your teams in conversations. So they're sort of creating their own training. If you do it right and you're facilitating these conversations, you come up with the most rich sort of, I call it an SLA, service level agreement, from your staff to your members. It's sort of like they're writing their own SLA to the members. And when they do that, you have your training material. It's, here's what we all agreed on was sort of a level 10 type of experience here.
Yeah.
So now let's train to that. And once you sort of learn how to create curriculum, it becomes fairly easy, but it's way more than just a memo that says we got to be friendlier, because then what do people say? I'm friendly.
Yeah. Yeah, there has to be an actual commitment to it and action steps that are created.
That's right. We use different frameworks in our training, right? So we create frameworks so that people can understand how to look for opportunities, what level of opportunity to create a memorable moment. Is it kind of an everyday? Is it a next level, or is it an over-the-top opportunity? How you find them, what you do to create them, and how it makes the members feel.
Yeah,
100%. That's the result. Yeah.
Last question. I'm curious about your hot take on this. Just you've been in the industry for so long. Not saying that you're old, but what is the first thing that you would say to an owner operator coming in the morning that they should really focus on to have a productive day, to connect with the community? What's the first thing that they should do, in your opinion?
Walk the floor and talk to people and introduce themselves to anybody they don't know.
Old school, right?
It
never dies, right?
It doesn't. It's just amazing. I'll tell you something else. So at our two clubs, we have these blank greeting cards.
Yeah.
And they just have the Works logo on the outside. They're black. They've got the green Works logo on them. And each gym is required to send 75 out a month. So we send 150 of these out. Who sends them out? Anybody. Housekeeping, kids club staff, front desk, maintenance, trainers, managers. And all you do, we teach people to look for anything. This doesn't have to be anything extraordinary. It could be that Lyle's been a member for 15 years and he's just coming in, and it just dawned on you, Lyle's been a member for 15 years. And so the front desk, then they handwrite and they'll say something like, Lyle, thank you for being a member for 15 years. Thank you for always treating us at the front desk with kindness. We appreciate you.
A handwritten thank you card. Imagine that.
Handwritten thank you card goes
awesome.
in an envelope. You have to handwrite on it, and then we buy just regular frickin' stamps, and those go out every single day. Our kids club staff they write them to children if the kids are sick at home.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of times I'm traveling. I'm going to go do a seminar, and I'll text Katie, our GM. Katie.
Yeah.
I'll text Katie and I'll say, hey, Katie, are there any cards that aren't in envelopes yet today? And she'll say, yeah, there's 3.
And that's a focus of yours, because you understand what that means to the person receiving it, and the behavior that causes for the staff to really engage and look for these opportunities. That's a great tip.
And then think about what that does to the staff when they have to stop and focus and find those opportunities. They start to get really good at it.
Yep.
And then when you have a member, somebody who's been a member for 30 years, come in tears holding one of those cards, that staff will never forget. And that's happened a lot. That's how I'm a huge fan of technology. Technology should be there in the fitness industry. It should help us create better human-to-human contacts.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, man, hey, I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy, but thanks for taking the time with me, Blair. Truly.
You bet, Lyle.